The next video is on phonation, which is the process of creating sound at the vocalis muscle. The vocalis muscle is what we commonly term vocal cords. However, the more correct term is vocal folds. Vocal folds because they are more like a folded piece of muscle, with the outside layer being sort of a mucus layer that protects the vocal folds so that as they vibrate in speech and in singing, they do not become overly irritated because they're quite thin. So with that in mind, it's important to think about phonation as being a very easy and free thing. Otherwise, you could obviously hurt yourself. This will stem from the previous video that we talked about respiration and getting a really good solid breath. Now we're going to talk about how you use the breath to efficiently phonate or create sound. The first thing that I try to encourage students to think about is that when they take their breath, that they start the tone immediately afterwards. There's never really a second between the intake of air and the creation of tone. One should, as we said in the previous video, inspire the other. Breath inspires sound. So as you take the breath, be immediately thinking of what it is you're about to sing. That is, if you are about to sing the vowel ah, you should be breathing in on an ah. If you're about to sing the vowel e, you should be thinking of the breath in sort of the general place of an e. Obviously, a more closed vowel or a more closed sound is not ideal for taking in a breath. However, you can find the approximate space so that you're not having to completely readjust when you begin the tone, or take that split second which we're trying to avoid between the breath and the creation of sound. So, with that in mind, when you begin the tone, you should start to feel that the breath immediately moves out. There's never any feeling that it's being stayed or kept anywhere. You should use your air. Use it to your best advantage. Do not hold it, tighten in the abs region, because this will create a very stiff and driven tone. On the opposite end of the spectrum, you don't want to release the sound too quickly without any sense of pacing. Otherwise, you will have a very breathy tone. This is achieved by basically not allowing the vocal folds to completely come together through the vibratory cycles. The vocal folds, as you create tone, sort of vibrate in undulations, and they go at different rates of speed depending on the intensity of the pitch level and the dynamics. As you increase in pitch, the number of cycles that it actually vibrates on is increased, and likewise as you decrease in pitch there are less amounts of times that it undulates. This creates two things. The higher you go, the more quick puffs of air are being released with each opening of the undulation, and the lower you go, the bigger the spaces between. So you can see that the lower you go, you actually use, in some senses, more air because there's more air being driven through. So it actually creates a little bit more, it makes it easier for you to basically create a breathier tone in the lower part of your voice. So it takes a little bit more training to get the lower voice placed in a certain way that there isn't too much breath in the sound. Likewise, in the upper pitches, it's important that it's not too pressed, that there's still air moving through it, and that you're not driving it and trying to keep the cords closed because of the rapidness of the movements. So, with that in mind, one of the exercises that I'd like to start off with is thinking of a lip trill, or you can also include a tongue lip trill. It's a recent thing that I've been doing a little bit more with the tongue because it allows there to be a relaxation in the jaw and in the tongue area, whereas if you're just doing a lip trill, sometimes you can have tension in some places that you don't intend to have it. So I will demonstrate both for you now. The lip trill, this is without a pitch, just allowing the air to move, goes like this. One thing that you want to try to do is to get an initiation on it that's not too violent, and also one that still has an engagement to it, otherwise you won't get the sound. If you don't put a little energy into it, you'll get right? Or if you're tight anywhere, certainly you'll get, you cannot make the sound. Likewise, if you're too explosive with it, you could release the air too quickly. And then you have no air. So you want to have something in between the two. As you do that, you'll be able to increase the amount of time that you can actually keep the lip trill going. I like to then include the tongue, which is where you basically let the tongue flap through the middle of the lips on the vibration. Demonstration. This creates a whole relaxation in the jaw and the tongue, everything, and engages the breath. Again, same principles apply. If you are not giving enough energy to it, it won't happen. Or if you're tense in the body, it won't happen. So you'll get a or something like that. Also, if you are giving too much to it, you could lose your air too quickly. And obviously that's no good either. It also creates a mess. So just be aware of that when you're doing it, that you want to try to not actually slobber too much, because that means that you're actually giving a little bit more of a resistance to it, and you're not just completely blowing it out all at once. So that is one of the first exercises that I'd like students to think about in terms of getting breath connected to the phonation. This is where we begin the phonation with that exercise. Starting on 3 notes up and back, you would do the tongue lip trill. Let me do that again. Starting with 3 notes up and back, you would do the tongue lip trill. You should feel almost like the breath moves in with you as you are creating the sound, but that it doesn't completely let go. Demonstration. If it was breathy, it would sound a little bit more like this, and it would have this effect. And you wouldn't be able to finish the phrase, probably, if it was that severe. The other side of the spectrum is that if it's really too harsh, it can have a driven sound. And this would get very tiring very quickly, and I think you'd feel that that's not somehow right. So you're trying to find a balance between the two. You may seesaw. So that's important, to go through that process and figure out where the happy medium is. This is one of those things, though, that it is important to get in with somebody, a vocal technician, to see exactly what's going on, because you could be holding tensions in places that you don't realize. And this is not something that obviously a video like this can address. But you can look in the mirror as you're doing it and try to self-assess, how can I make this more efficient? So doing that 3 notes up and back is a good start. Then doing it maybe to 5 notes up and back. And see how long you can hold it. That will also increase your breath capacity the more you challenge yourself to do that.